Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. And guys, I went crazy with today's slate. I found a bunch of picks with loads of value. So I have 6 player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. I couldn't cut any down. I thought about trimming this video a little bit, but you know what? I found 6 props that I really love. I want to go ahead and share them with you guys. So 6 player props coming your way in today's video. But first, before we dive into today's picks, a quick little recap of how we did yesterday. We're going to jump over to the outlier screen for our recap in today's video. And look, guys, it was a misfire. There's no hiding from that. We went 0-2. Neither leg hit. We did kind of get screwed a little bit because we didn't get the full at-bats. Elias Diaz for the Padres only had 2 at-bats in the game. Rojas didn't have a ton. I think he had 3 at-bats total. Just wasn't a great day for us there yesterday. It was a risk taking the strikeout props for sure. But hey, they can't all be winners. So I do apologize to everybody who did tail yesterday's parlay for leading you guys astray. I try to be very sincere with my picks here, and I thought I had a really good parlay on my hands. Unfortunately, I was wrong. But you know what I always say, guys? If you're fortunate enough, life gives you the opportunity to wake up the next day and try again. That's what we're going to do. We have 6 new player props today. We're going to try again. I am going to run this ladder challenge back some point later on in the month. Like, I'm not going to run it back today. That's chasing your losses. Some point, and I'll announce it when I do it later in the month, we'll do another ladder challenge to try and make up for the disaster that was the start of June for us. But I did tell you guys yesterday we're going to pick one winner regardless of the parlay wins or losers. So shout out to BT Maverick 247, new follower. Sorry that your first experience with this was a losing parlay, but thank you for becoming a follower. Thank you for joining the community here at Guy Boston Sports, and we want to say a little welcome to you by giving you a $25 Amazon gift card. Again, guys, I do giveaways pretty much every single week here on the channel, so if you didn't win today, don't worry about it. There'll be plenty more opportunities throughout the MLB season to go ahead and be a winner. All right, guys, with that all out of the way, we have a lot of picks to get to and no time to waste. So let's go ahead and dive into today's MLB picks. Jumping on over to the outlier screen. By the way, guys, if you are watching today's video at this point, please comment new day down below. It's a new day. It's a fresh start. We had a misfire yesterday, but we're going to do better today. That's my speaking into an existence guarantee to you guys. So comment new day down below if you are watching today's video at this point. All right, guys, our first player prop in today's slate, and these are all single bets. This is not parlays. You can parlay them if you want. These are meant to be single bets. Our first player prop in today's video is Guardians-Yankees, 7:05 p.m. first pitch. We're going Carlos Rodon of the New York Yankees over 6.5 strikeouts. We're grabbing this one for -120 on DraftKings, although it is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. As always, guys, make sure to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. Very important when it comes to finding value in these player props. But -120 is what we're grabbing it for, and the data is really solid here on this player prop. 8 of Rodon's last 10 games, he's cashed the over. That's an 80% hit rate, averaging 7.8 strikeouts per game over the last 10 games. The only 2 games over the last 10 where he failed to cash this over, the Padres on May 5th and the Mets on May 16th. But pretty good numbers overall, even when you look at the entire season data for Rodon, which isn't much larger than that 10-game sample size. He's played 12 games this year. He's cashed the over 9 out of 12 games, a 75% hit rate on the season, averaging 7.5 strikeouts per game this year. So really good numbers here for Rodon this year. Looking at the head-to-head data from a head-to-head perspective, 2 of his last 3 matchups with the Guardians, he's cashed the over. That's a 67% hit rate, averaging 7.67 strikeouts per game across the last 3 matchups with Cleveland. So pretty good numbers. They have played once this year already on April 23rd. He had 8 strikeouts and what was a 5-1 win for the Yankees. And looking down below at the matchup stats, it seems to be pretty solid. Now, overall this year, the Guardians versus left-handed pitchers, they are bottom 10 in Major League Baseball in terms of strikeout percentage, which is obviously very good for us. 25.1% strikeout percentage against left-handed pitchers. That obviously is in our favor. They are a little bit better over the last 30 games, but they still rank in the bottom half of Major League Baseball, despite the fact that their numbers have gone a little bit up in comparison to their overall numbers. And if you look at all the data for Cleveland batting versus left-handed pitchers, you'll see they don't hit very well versus left-handers in any category. Batting average, OBP, WOBA, they're all bottom half of the league in most of those categories. And look at Carlos Rodon. He's in the 96th percentile this year as a starting pitcher, 31.7% strikeout rate. He's averaging 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's in the 95th percentile. So he's having a really strong year, in particular when it comes to the strikeout numbers. So really solid numbers here from -120, or if you have FanDuel, -126, Hard Rock Bet -135, Caesars -117. I mean, there's a lot of places you can find this one for varying ranges of value. It's a pretty valuable player prop, in my opinion, with a lot of good data to go ahead and back it up. All right, guys, our second player prop in today's slate. We're moving on to the Phillies-Blue Jays game, 7:07 p.m. first pitch. We're going Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Blue Jays over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing this one for -130 on DraftKings. Again, it is available on multiple sportsbooks for varying odds. And the data is pretty strong on this player prop as well. 7 of his last 10 games, Vladdy Jr. has cashed this over, averaging 2.3 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. And the further you go ahead and stretch the numbers out, I think the more impressive it gets. I mean, last 20 games, 75% hit rate, 15 of his last 20 games. He's gone ahead and cashed this over, averaging 2.25 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. So really solid as you stretch it out. Even the entire season numbers are very strong. 68% hit rate on the season, 40 out of 59 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 2.12 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. So some really strong numbers here for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. across the board. The recent data, the last 20 game data, the overall season numbers, really strong across the board. And even from a head-to-head perspective, 3 of his last 4 matchups with the Phillies, he's cashed the over. That is, of course, a 75% hit rate, averaging 3.75 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 4 matchups with the Phillies. Now, granted, all of those matchups come from last season, so this is a little outdated, but I still think it's pretty relevant here in this case. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Shout out to Outlier, the sponsor of today's video, and all my player prop videos here on the channel. We do offer a link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to go ahead and check out Outlier for yourself. It really is a fantastic tool, and if you want to bet and make money in baseball, guys, you got to have the right sports betting tool by your side. And as you can see from this video, Outlier provides so much information, so much insight, more than I can even show you guys in a single video. So go ahead and check it out for yourself. One more time, link down below in the description, 7-day free trial to check it out for yourself. Thank you to Outlier for sponsoring this video and all of my player prop videos here on the channel. So the insight provided by Outlier, Vladdy Jr. has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 7 of his last 8 games at home, averaging 2.9 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 8 home games. It's an 88% hit rate. So really solid numbers across the board here for Vladdy Jr. And if all that data didn't convince you, looking at the key matchup stats down below, it's also really encouraging. Vladdy Jr., solid season, 283 batting average, 138.7 WRC plus versus left-handed pitchers like Christopher Sanchez. The numbers increased by a lot. I mean, batting average 348, WRC plus 195.7, massive increases from his overall numbers. Now, to be fair, much smaller sample size, just 54 plate appearances versus left-handed pitchers, a lot smaller than his sample size versus right-handed pitchers. But when he's faced off with left-handed pitchers this year, he's had a lot of success hitting the baseball. Now, Vladdy Jr. versus Christopher Sanchez, he does have 6 plate appearances against him since 2018. 1 hit off of him and 1 RBI in those 6 plate appearances. It is a small sample size, but it is a little worrisome to see that number be so low. Again, it is a small sample size, though. Keep that in mind. And Christopher Sanchez having a solid, I guess an okay year. I wouldn't say solid. It's an okay season for him. Not bad. But versus right-handed batters, the numbers do all increase in all 4 of these key categories, which obviously is important for us. ERA, batting average allowed, home runs per 9, and WOBA all see increases in those numbers. The only one that has a massive jump is his ERA, but all of them increase, which obviously fares very well for us with this player prop. So when you mix all that, this key matchup stats, the data above, it seems like a really solid player prop. And for -130 odds, pretty strong value. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's slate. We're moving on to the Brewers-Reds game, 7:10 p.m. first pitch. We're going Matt McLain of the Cincinnati Reds under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing this for -145 on DraftKings, but again, it's available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Data is very strong on this player prop as well. You see 9 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 0.8 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. Go ahead and stretch the numbers out to the last 20. The numbers are still very solid. 80% hit rate, 16 of his last 20. He's cashed the under, averaging 1.3 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. And let's be honest, this game here back on May 10th where he had 1 hit, 3 runs, and 3 RBIs, that really has helped his numbers in terms of the average. Really, he's just not covering this line all that much. And looking at the overall season data, a 71% hit rate on the year for this under. 36 out of 51 games, he's cashed the under, averaging 1.45 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. But again, he has a couple of massive games this year that help skew that average a little higher. But the reality is he's a really consistent cash on this under, which obviously is very good for us. Look at the head-to-head data here versus Milwaukee. Each of the last two matchups versus the Brewers, both which took place this year on April 3rd, and April 4th. He cashed the under both times and literally didn't record anything. 0 hits, 0 runs, and 0 RBIs in both of those matchups this year against Milwaukee. Now, granted, it was 2 months ago, but realistically, if you looked at the numbers the last 20 games, what has really changed in the last 2 months for Matt McLain? I mean, it's the unders have been cashing very consistently all through the month of May and into the month of June. And we also have the insight provided by Outlier. Matt McLain has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 4 of his last 5 games at home, averaging just 1.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 5 home games, an 80% hit rate. So again, last 5, 100%, last 10, 90%, last 20, 80%, the season numbers, 71%. As you stretch the numbers out, they typically should go a lot lower. They're still very high. So really good numbers across the board. Even the insight provided by Outlier is really strong. If we look at the home games for the entire year, just for shits and giggles here, not as strong as the other data, but still 60% hit rate at home this year in Cincinnati. So again, really strong numbers across the board. And looking down below at the key matchup stats, it's still really solid. Matt McLain versus Freddie Peralta since 2018, 6 plate appearances. Again, small sample size, yes, but that's what we have to use. So it's what we have to go off of. But he did nothing. 0 hits, 0 home runs, 0 RBIs with an 83.3% strikeout rate against Peralta in those 6 plate appearances. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It's only 6 plate appearances, but really solid numbers here. Matt McLain, 175 batting average on the year. His number does slightly increase versus right-handed pitchers, but 175 versus 177. Not that much of a difference, literally 0.002 difference. And spoiler alert, guys, 177 batting average, although it is scientifically, mathematically better than 175 average, that's still a really low number. And even the 53.5 WRC plus, really low numbers there. And Peralta's having a really solid season versus right-handed batters. Some categories go down, like batting average allowed, WOBA. Some go up, home runs per 9 and ERA. But overall, it seems to be a really solid matchup on all levels. And for minus 145, yeah, it's a little high in terms of odds, but I still think this player prop has some solid value to it. So that's our 3rd player prop in today's video. All right, guys, our 4th player prop in today's video, cruising right along here. We have Diamondbacks, Braves, 7:15 p.m. first pitch. We got Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing this one for minus 105 over on BetMGM. So really strong value on this player prop. Now, the overall data on this Marte prop is not as strong as the last couple ones, but the recent data is still very solid. As you can see here, 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this over, averaging 2.1 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. Even the last 20 game data, still very strong. 70% hit rate. 14 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 2.55 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. So last 10 game data, pretty strong. Last 20 game data, pretty strong. Like I mentioned, though, the overall numbers still solid, but not as strong as like the last player prop, 71%. Some of the other player props in the higher 60s, 70s. The overall numbers here for Ketel Marte, 58% hit rate, 19 out of 33 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 2.12 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. Now, he had a little bit of a slower start to the year, but again, over the last 20 games, really phenomenal numbers here for Ketel Marte. So solid data there for the most part. And then from a head-to-head perspective, he has yet to face off with the Atlanta Braves this year. So all of these data points are coming from last year's matchups with Atlanta. But 4 of those last 7 matchups with the Braves, he has cashed the over. That is a 57% hit rate, averaging 2.43 hits, runs, RBIs per game across those last 7 matchups with Atlanta. So again, all of that data comes from last year's matchups with Atlanta. But in those last year matchups, pretty good numbers across the board there. Again, 57% hit rate, averaging 2.43 hits, runs, RBIs per game. As long as he covers his averages, we should be good to go here with this player prop. We have the insights provided by Outlier, which just kind of reiterates some of the stuff we already showed you guys. Ketel Marte has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 7 of his last 8 games, averaging 2.25 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 8 games, that of course being an 88% hit rate. So the recent numbers are very strong. The overall numbers are still decent, but not as strong as the recent data. And looking down below at the key matchup stats, Ketel Marte versus Spencer Strider, 11 plate appearances since 2018, 333 batting average, 455 OBP, 3 hits, 1 home run, 1 RBI against him. A little bit of a larger sample size than some of the last couple player props in terms of head-to-head matchup, batter versus pitcher. And they're not bad numbers. I mean, 3 hits and 11 plate appearances, 333. Nothing to scoff at. And looking at Ketel Marte down below here, he's batting 276 this year with a 155.3 WRC plus. Versus right-handed pitchers, you do see some steady increases there. Batting average increases to 293, WRC plus increases to 185.3. So really solid increases there. He's having a lot of success versus right-handed pitchers this year. So that's really solid and something to definitely keep in mind. And then look at Spencer Strider, again, not having the best of years, not having the worst of years. He hasn't played a lot so far. You know, he's only played so far this year. He's only pitched 14 innings. So not a lot to go off of there. 60 batters faced. But with the data that we have for him this year, you know, 450 ERA, 240 batting average allowed. Again, nothing great, nothing terrible though. But versus left-handed batters, you do see the numbers do increase. Batting average, WOBA, ERA, they all increase a little bit there. But again, 34 batters faced that were left-handed, so it is a small sample size, so take that with a grain of salt. But I do think overall, it's a pretty solid matchup for the most part. And for minus 105, the value is certainly there. All right, guys, 2 player props left in today's video. Our 5th prop in today's slate. We're moving on to the Rangers-Rays game, 7:35 p.m. first pitch. We're going Tyler Mahle of the Rangers under 2.5 earned runs, minus 140 on DraftKings is what we are grabbing it for. And the data is very strong. 9 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this under. It's a 90% hit rate, obviously, averaging just 1.1 earned run allowed per game over the last 10 games. So really solid numbers there. Even if you look at the overall season data for Tyler Mahle, he's pitched 12 games. He's cashed the under in 11 of 12 games. That's a 92% hit rate. Only once this year has he given up more than 2 earned runs in a game. That was May 23rd versus the White Sox of all teams, which is crazy. You look at some of the Dodgers shut him out, 0 earned runs. You know, see some of these, I mean, they haven't had a ton of great offenses. You see they play the Rockies, the Athletics, although the Athletics have been hitting the ball pretty decently this year. Moral of the story being the White Sox of all teams were the one that got him, which is, I think, very funny. But 92% hit rate this year, really solid numbers across the board here for Tyler Mahle. Even the head-to-head category versus the Tampa Bay Rays, he has pitched against them once this year back on April 4th. And he had 0 earned runs. It was a 5-2 win for Texas. So really good numbers across the board here for Tyler Mahle. And then looking down below at the matchup. Now, at first glance, you might go, whoa, not a good matchup here. Tampa Bay versus right-handed pitchers. Overall this year, have the 4th best batting average versus right-handed pitchers. All their key categories, OBP, slugging, WRC+, BA, BIP, they all rank fairly high. Top half of the league in all 5 of those categories. However, if we do narrow it down to the last 30 games, and all these teams now played over 50 games this year, the last 30 games, though, they are bottom half of the league in all these categories versus right-handed pitchers. Batting average drops to 246, OBP drops to 315, slugging 395, WRC plus 105.8, BA, BIP 294. Now, some of those aren't massive decreases, but they're enough that they put them in the bottom half of the league. So really solid numbers there. And then obviously Tyler Mahle, you know, 93rd percentile batting average allowed, 96th percentile ERA, 93rd percentile BIP, 96th percentile WOBA. The fact that his worst mark is his FIP, which is in the 81st percentile in terms of these 5 categories, is really telling you the season that he's having. So it's a really solid matchup. The Rays have not been hitting the ball versus right-handed pitchers all that well over the last month or two. And I think Tyler Mahle might be one of the better pitchers in baseball right now in terms of his numbers this year. So really solid matchup. And they got the EV plus value too, which obviously helps us in a big way. So love this as the 5th player prop in today's video. And our 6th and final player prop in today's slate comes from Mets-Dodgers, 10:10 p.m. first pitch. We're going Andy Pages of the Dodgers over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Again, solid value here, minus 105 over on BetMGM. So pretty decent value. Recent data, very strong here. Overall data is solid, not great. 9 of his last 10 games, Andy Pages has cashed this over, averaging 3 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. He's actually cashed this in 7 consecutive games as well. So look at the last 5 game data. 100% hit rate over the last 5 games. Averaging 3.6 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 5. So like I said, really solid recent run here for Andy Pages. Now the overall data, let's look at the entire 2025 season. It's still solid, just not as strong. 55% hit rate, 31 out of 56 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 2.25 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. He had a really slow start. You look at the first 10 to 15 games of the year, a lot of misses there, but basically since late April, this April 22nd game versus the Cubs, since then, you see a ton of green there. So really solid run for Andy Pages of late. And then going ahead and looking at the head-to-head data here, you do have a decent sample size. He's played against the Mets 14 times dating back to last year. In 9 of those last 14 matchups, he's cashed the over. That's a 64% hit rate, averaging 2.57 hits, runs, RBIs per game against the Mets across the last 14 matchups. Now, they played 4 times so far this year, and he's cashed the over in 3 out of 4 games this season. So again, really solid numbers here across the board for Andy Pages. We also have the insight provided by Outlier. Andy Pages has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 4 of his last 5 games at home, averaging 3.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 5 home games. That's actually 4 consecutive home games too. He's cashed the over. Now, looking down below the key matchup stats, you're asking, after seeing all that data, where's the weak spot here? And the weak spot really is, not the best matchup of all time in terms of matchup versus pitcher. Now, in terms of head-to-head data, Pages versus Tyler Meagle. I don't know if that's how I say his name correctly. You guys, I know I suck at pronunciations. Tyler Meagle. We'll go with McGill. I think McGill probably is the better one. But 2 plate appearances since 2018. Very small sample size. He didn't do anything against him. Struck out once. Not really a lot to go off of there with just 2 plate appearances against him. Now, looking at the splits, Pages actually looks pretty solid here. 282 batting average, 126.9 WRC plus. Versus right-handed pitchers, you do see increases there. His batting average goes to 295. His WRC plus goes up to 140.7. So clearly more success versus right-handed pitchers this year than left-handed pitchers. And looking at McGill too, I mean, solid year versus right-handed batters, though the numbers do increase by a decent amount. ERA jumps to 5. Batting average allowed 250, home runs per 9, 1, and WOBA goes up to 310. So all increases. The ERA and batting average in particular has some nice solid jumps. That matchup seems to be pretty solid. Again, they've only had 2 plate appearances, so not a ton to go off of there. But I do think it's a pretty solid matchup across the board here for Andy Pages. And for minus 105 too, pretty strong value as the 6th and final player prop in today's video. All right, guys, we made it to the end of the video. That was all 6 player props in today's slate. Thank you very much, as always, guys, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I'll be back tomorrow with another MLB Player Prop video, but until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Tuesday. Let's go ahead and make some money.